people have made these decisions. I mean, I live there. Okay. I've seen pastors and their wives travel from GOs and their wives travel from Nigeria, relocate on a visit visa. Both of them are meant to return within 6 months. What do they have to do? Baba, Elowa ya wutinyo. Mama, Elowa. Look, there's a bubble. So I'm trying to like pierce the rope now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, please tear the veil.
Welcome to the show. This show is focused on helping young people across Africa, all right, start new things, start new careers, start new relationships, start new families, and to also help them figure out the way the world works. And so what we do usually is we bring in everyday people because there is wisdom everywhere. You just have to look for it, all right? As we go about our day-to-day activities, there are experiences that we learn from that you don't get to share with other people. So having said that, today we'll be talking about traveling out of the country. Yeah. To put it in better terms, we'll be talking about how Africans can succeed outside their countries of birth. Because if you summarize it, when people say Japa, it doesn't mean that they actually want to escape. If you ask every single person, why exactly are you traveling out? If you stop people at the airport and you ask them, why are you traveling out of your country of birth? Be it Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, Ghana, or Kenya, or whatever other country in Africa. And that's not insulting people from South Africa watching this, but outside of those 5 countries we've listed, we don't consider the rest of Africa. The rest of other countries, serious African countries. But that's jokes aside. So how do you succeed outside your country of birth? Okay, not everybody will succeed within their country of birth, and there may be need for them to emigrate. Okay, so we'll watch a couple of videos. We'll react to the videos. There's a phrase we say during the course of this show, and the phrase is this: the unexamined life is not worth living. Our ancestors will say that when a small child falls down, he looks forward. When an adult falls down, he looks back. There's also another proverb people will say. They will say that what a young child cannot see standing up, an old man can see sitting down. I had someone say that was before Google Maps. That with Google Maps now, the old child, there's traffic there, he won't go. Technology is upending so many things. So we'll have that conversation. I hope to have a great conversation. We'll do a bit of introductions, 30 seconds. We have the usual suspects. So let me just do the introductions of the usual suspects. We have Agogo Udi, right? Governor General on Twitter, policy analyst at Darkpore Media Africa. We have Mr. Oji Aso.
Yeah.
The Aso is ASO. It's not it's not the other. It's not ASO.
And the other is ORJI, not the other OG.
It's ORJI, not the other OG. Okay. Is the product development lead for the Food OS app that we're building to help share food. Again, links will be in the description. We have Mr. Peter Ayola, AY for short. He coordinates administration at Darkpore Media Africa, and he's a technical engineer, electrical engineer. All right. So those are the usual suspects. We have Adams Adegoke. He's behind the scenes and is the one that is making the show run. So, and I'm Ade Folami Agumbiade. I'm your host, alongside with the co-host. So, having said that and done that, we'll just do quick introductions from my boss right here to my madam, and then we'll go around and then we'll jump into the show.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Oluwatosin Oderinde. My discipline is geological engineering. Life has taken me through various steps of different facets and walks of life. But I currently am an entrepreneur, a businessman.
Okay. So
thank you.
My name is Daisy Onyema. I'm travel consultant.
You have relevant experience to the show.
My name is Lawrence Fortunate, renewable energy expert.
My name is Olivia Obiakala. I'm an events manager and also an entrepreneur.
Okay.
My name is Depre Abiafi. I'm a student of Lasostec, formerly Laspotec. I'm a model. Yeah.
My name is Happiness Ogu. I'm a night tech engineer.
Okay. My name is Toby Jatoye. A content creator / travel consultant.
All right, so let's. So thank you very much for honoring the invitation and for being here. Okay, we also have.
Yeah, I'm also here. Thank you. My name is Olayemi Akumalafe. I'm a biochemist by discipline, medical rep by profession, a travel consultant / agent by chance, a rapper / artist by talent. By passion. God bless you.
So wanna come watch a lot
There's plenty, that's where.
Okay, my names are, whichever is the correct syntax. My name is Gabriel Ekrunya, and I'm a musician.
All right, so let's jump right into the show. So the first act of the show is we'll be reviewing a video. We'll talk about the video, and then we'll have a couple of questions that I would ask you on the video. Can we cue the video in? Okay.
Nigeria doesn't have any future for anybody. We're on our own in this country. I don't really have a specific place, but I want a better place, a greener pasture.
I see UK is a place of opportunity. Over there, your strength counts.
All right, so.
The money to do the visa, that's the problem again. Some people will tell you with your family, package is 12 million. Where do you expect us to get that kind of money?
Any plan you have in your mind, it's not what you just disclose to the world. You start making preparations towards it until the thing clicks before you call people and tell them.
All right, so let's just pause the video at this point. So let me just ask, just quick question, guys. For everybody who is here, how many of us kind of like have entertained the idea of relocating from Nigeria?
I think everyone.
Hands don't
No, let's just by show of hands. How many people have thought of traveling
In
out?
fact, 2 hands.
Let's see. So let's do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many of us are inside here? So there's only one person that has not thought of traveling. You. I'm Mr. Fortunate. Okay. Mr. Fortunate, you've thought of relocating. You're in the process already. All right. So people feel that there's despair in the country and all that. Some people say, but let me just ask why.
The government does not really have the citizens' interest at heart. Like, you're on your own. Deal with yourself. So everyone wants, and almost everybody believes that the system does not work. Like, if you're to be in any trouble, any problem, like I said, you're on your own. You can't rely on the government and say, okay, they have my back or something. No, it's mostly like that.
Is that the only reason? Is that the only reason why people are thinking of?
For greener pastures, yeah, to be able to say, okay, I'm putting in work and I'm getting the same
Reward.
Exactly, reward.
Okay.
A lot of people are working, but there's nothing to show for it. Like, nothing.
Yeah, I think.
All right, let me. Mr. Fortunate, do you share our views?
Yeah.
Okay, so why exactly? Why do you want to relocate out of Nigeria?
Actually, the state of the country looks insecure. Most time we believe over there we have more, security. But here, like you said, it's as if you're on your own. So if you want to be secured, you go extra miles to employ people to surround your building and all that. So insecurity is...
So you're saying it's because of insecurity? Does anybody support that?
Yes.
I think it's because of better opportunities. People believe that there are better opportunities outside Nigeria.
Security might.
Guys, we can't talk at the same time. I'm sorry.
And there's more reward for work. Like if you work hard, you're going to get there's reward for hard work and all that compared to look at Nigeria. As I said, wages are low and people believe that there are better opportunities outside this country and there's reward for hard work. If you put in the hard work, there's reward and all that. And there are fewer obstacles to progress and success outside this country. The system abroad, say it works, unlike the system in Nigeria that's kind of broken and only favors people who are connected in some ways.
There are many reasons why I personally wanted to, because that's in the past, wanted to jackpot. Wanted to leave the country. Well, for a young man just starting up life, you'll begin to realize that there are many opportunities you'd want to key into, but when you go after such opportunities, and maybe you're really, really talented in those areas, when you go after such opportunities, you'll discover that you'll be allowed to put in all the hard work, but when it's time to get the reward or to get the benefit, somebody shows up and that person is probably... Okay, let me use real examples with people who exist. In 2005, was it 2005 or 2004? I went for a music talent hunt. It was hosted by Kenny Ogumbe's sister. What's her name again?
Kenny
St. Brown, yes. It was called BWV, Brothers with Voices or something like that, and SWV. And then we held that show at Agidingbi, Lagos Television. And we had to pay for this show. So I gathered my group of friends and told them, this is going down. Let's go and knock the world off. Let's show them what we've got and all that. So we did this. We contributed money. We did everything we had to do. When we went for the show, we were successful. We got to the semifinals. After a month, they said, okay, we're going to come back for semifinals. We went for semifinals. We did all that. We were the top 3 out of people. I heard the husband, what's his name? This Eddie Remedy. I heard Eddie Remedy say when we started the show that about 5,000 people applied and we're paying remember we had to go to Atlantic Bank, a defunct bank right now, to pay that money. I think 1,700 naira for solo artist, and I think it was 3,000 something for group. I'm calling facts, so it's something you can actually Google and yeah. Okay, we did the maths that day right there at Agidingbi and said, wow, this guy's made money. So the semifinals, they said, okay, they were going to call us back after some months. They would have to do some logistics. If they're going to ever call us back, maybe it's tomorrow. We never heard from them any longer. And after that, going through several other shows, I've seen that pattern repeat itself severally. And sometimes people will say maybe losers cry foul, but it's not true. You get to a point where it now becomes only every time a show comes up, you go for that show, you just discover that everybody that's a contestant that you know them. Why? Because you've been doing this thing. It's now like business.
Yeah, but that's not a Nigerian problem now.
It's a Nigerian problem. I'm going to close my point now. Now, this is where it becomes a Nigerian problem. You see, when you have a show where people are supposed to come and contest, when they contest and maybe the organizers of the show, the people who are actually going to win the show are not
sincere,
are not the ones, or maybe they are not sincere. They just have to now get, oh boy, we can't let this money go out, so let's do arrange. You know, everybody was saying that not getting reward. I'm just trying to give you a real example of what people mean by we are not getting the results for the hard work. So that's just one of the examples. And there are thousands of other facets of life that has this kind of templates working out. So people just look at it. After some time, you just begin to think that there's no need for me to really try it here. So the next thing I thought about, I said, okay, let me find a music school abroad and probably go there, get some expertise, be connected, and maybe it will work from there. So that's what led me to
want to travel.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll take the story on the music school as we go on, because we're still doing reaction to this video and we have to complete the video. So you said that you're a travel consultant.
Yeah.
So the reasons why they're saying that people travel out, Mr. Fortunate has spoken out about Gabriel talk and all that. The reasons why people say, is that the reasons your clients want to travel out? Are those the same reasons they give?
Yeah. Honestly, most of them don't say why they want to travel out, but the way they say it, that will give you the idea of what's going on. They'll stand desperate. Please, I need to escape. Yeah. Some will be like, please, I need to leave this country this year, please. I'll be like, but the intake is January now. They'll be like, no. There's nothing that can keep me in this country. Please, which country? They don't even care about the country. They just want to leave. You understand? So I'll say like 80% wants to leave because of they feel there are better opportunities outside the country. While there are people with their money, they have a lot of money. I mean, to travel out, especially to study, you have to spend like 7 to 8 million naira, depending on the country. Though some people have to spend 5 million naira. It just depends on the country. Now, someone that can spend such amount of money obviously have money, but where are they living? I would say maybe because of insecurities. I mean, you can have your money, but you can't enjoy it. Well, when it's time to get fuel, maybe scarcity. No lights. Even when you start a business.
By light, you mean electricity, not sunlight. All right.
Electricity, yeah. You understand? So even when you start a business, there are rules or laws that will like frustrate the business. Yeah, so these are just the reasons why people want to leave the country.
Okay, so let's we'll go on to you, sir. So you're not you've escaped Nigeria. Is that the phrase?
Obviously have not escaped. He's still here.
Anyway,
okay, you left Nigeria and all that. So were these the reasons why you chose to leave, or?
Well, I think it's a mix of some of the viewpoints that have been made out, but I'll put it this way. That's 5 years ago. That's 2018 that I left the country. I used to be very, very patriotic. I love Nigeria. I still love Nigeria, but I used to love Nigeria. Why? Because I am one of those who thought that, okay, I can drive change with whatever whatever resources that are made available to me, talent, skills, what have you. And I thought one way of doing that was to start a business, employ people, make my business make other people happy, make my business employ other people, and also make sure that solutions, we used to think big and good enough. Our host here knows a little bit about, I was one of his, pioneer clients at that time. So I just found out that as an entrepreneur, as a matter of fact, I've been doing business. I was doing business, financing my own education as well, in support of whatever I got from my parents. So it was all about what can I do? So then I used to be a consultant. I would train people with skills of, the different ways of penetrating foreign speculative markets, especially. People talk about Forex, people talk about stocks and all of that, CFDs. So I was a consultant. I was training people as far back as 2001 while I was studying geology in the University of Ibadan. So at the time I finished and it was about service, so national service. I already started my first company as a consultant. Then we had problems, but I would say it was a lot complicated, but I really didn't realize it was a Nigerian problem also. I just thought, I think it was my mistake that we had issues. Maybe I'm just too young to start a business. So the business went down in 2 years. It went so way up, and then it went down. I won't get into the details now. Maybe, further into the discussion. So I started my second company, which was no longer the training or consulting company, but something around my discipline as a geologist. I started mining. The fact that I loved Nigeria made me to love the resources of Nigeria. That's why I really went for, to study geology in the first place. For some of us who may not be aware of what geology is, it's the study of earths, rocks, minerals, and whatever that comes from underneath the ground. So, and I used to think that Nigeria, based on what I studied, is so blessed that we are only not harnessing some of those resources. So I decided, okay, I'll play my own little part in harnessing those resources. This is something that requires a lot of funding, capitalization. You have to have, You have to have a lot of funding. But I thought, well, I could just start out as an artisan. Just go into the bush, start taking stones, collecting them, and see if you can sell. Or, it was like child's play. People thought I was mad. When people look at you, they'll be like, is he serious? He's just going all over the bush. And then I was, as a matter of fact, just like I said, I would take advantage of one skill, make money off that skill, transfer it onto my research in mining. So at that time, I also had a travel consulting, what do I call it now? Like
enterprise,
within like a department, so to speak. So we had our R&D, not really R&D on how to get people out of the country, but we were trying to like morph into a future mining company, So we were quite successful in, getting people visas and all that. So at that time, I had my own visas too. I had the opportunity to travel. And as the patriot that I was, I told you the two sides. As the patriot that I was, each time I traveled, I'll tell them, people in Shenbi, what are you guys doing out here? I had those opportunities. I enjoyed those moments, because as a young guy, would travel and I saw what they were facing out there, and I was like, no, I won't do this. I just want to have my fun, and maximum 3 weeks, I'm back in the country, which I later regretted. We'll get to that. So, came back. We go to we were able to like mop up some funds, and we had good research, findings, and I simply went into, first, I went into equipment. I just said, okay, let's just buy one equipment. If it's a mining equipment or something, just put it out for rent. That was my next phase. And good enough, my very good friend here gave me one book, which helped me a lot in my development. The Alchemy of Growth. This is something that, as an entrepreneur, if you've not read it, I think you should just try and get that book. It helps. It's something that really helped me in being able to like transform, build like have a progressive approach towards, at the time we were doing traveling, we were researching on some other areas. And then before you know it, we are morph, the way you morph and just like Nokia, nobody believes Nokia used to be a cable company. You understand what I mean? But Nokia today is a telecoms. I think they're doing something else after telecoms now. So I got that from there, and I was able to like maximize, that approach. We started with, we went into equipment. We were renting them out. We came to Lagos, Ajah. We were renting out equipment and doing all that stuff, and then we moved
by equipment, you meant mining equipment?
Mining equipment, yes.
Excavators,
backhoe, loaders, and all of that. So we went from one equipment to the other. So let's just say we had that kind of growth. And I invited a lot of friends of mine. Oh, you don't have to, you're my friend. Let's just make this group of friends a group of business associates, So, we have a friend somewhere. And at the mention of his name, I'll be like, let him come join us. So it was more like group of friends, but I wanted us to be group of companies. But that was another, terrible mistake. Not a Nigerian thing, that's personal. Because at the time we started
I have a question. How exactly at what point did you get to, and I'm sorry to cut you short, because we're reacting to that video.
Right.
At what point did you realize that I have to escape this country?
Well, that was 15 years after.
What was the inflection point?
Now, the inflection point is what I'll put towards the state of the country. I was able to see the decline in prospects of, recording any success. I had series of like falls, like corporate falls. I had my first company go down. I had my second company go down like 3 different times, and I realized then when it got to a stage where I thought I already had it, I got a contract, and it just became, somewhat of a unfair playground with foreign competitors. That's when I got frustrated. We have, as a mining engineer, I get on the site and a Chinese man is already there to compete directly with me. But then you know what? The locals will appreciate the foreign man. They want to give them their resources. Oh, you boy, any resource. So it was tough competition for me in my own country. I'm like, oh, so you appreciate this white guy? It's not even white, it's Chinese. You know? You appreciate this Indian. It's not even white, it's Indian. You know? So you know, it was really unfair. I thought that as a Nigerian local, you know, we needed that support system from the locals, from the financial industries. I applied to the Bank of Industry severally. It got all declined. We were paying bribes to, yes, we were paying bribes. Maybe I won't pay it anymore because I live in a saner environment now. We paid. We never got nothing. But the Chinese will come and get the same thing you are pursuing as an entrepreneur, someone who wants to, you know, like make change. The Chinese will get it from their own country. When they get here, they fix it in our Nigerian banks, and then they use those monies to get even further funding from local banks in Nigeria. So it was tough competition for me. At that point, I felt, okay, it looks as if the financial institutions don't appreciate us as professionals. It looks, you know, the people don't even appreciate us. You know, it was just, that's on one part.
So to summarize what we've gotten right now, you were saying that you feel that you're not getting benefit for the work you do in the country. You mentioned insecurity, that you would have to hire an army to protect you even if you have money. You mentioned that people are just kind of like frustrated and they just want to leave the country.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned two key things. You said when it comes to business and the attitude of individuals, the organizations, institutions do not support local entrepreneurs, and individuals, our culture sort of does not also support local entrepreneurs. That's like the summary of what we've said.
Excuse me, sorry to cut you short. Like what he said, that's like feeling like a second-class citizen.
In your own country.
That's
Perfect.
in your own country.
Right.
You understand? That's one of the reasons though. You understand? Okay, I saw one video during election, or I think that was after the election, of, I don't know the country, though, whether it's Lebanon, or sharing food or something, or snacks to Nigerians. I mean, it's our country, but you're doing us a favor. Look at people rushing, trying to get theirs. Like in my own country again, you're the one, I'm begging you for something. You understand?
Yeah, but so I don't want to antagonize you on that, but you can also share food for people.
You're not getting. I don't think you saw the video though, but that was.
You are saying the Lebanese came to share food for Nigerians?
No. Like it's a company. You understand? I think it's a company. They were in a bus. I think that was. I think it may be the after election or before the governorship election. Yeah. So I think it was the government kind of like trying to, you know, buy the people or something. I don't know. But that was how it looked like. Even when the video went viral on Twitter, and that was how it looked like. Like in my own country, I'm begging you for something.
Okay, we'll touch on that point, because I will tell you that if I was there and they were sharing, I'll collect.
Of course you will.
But let's get back to the video and all that.
Once she paid the ransom, we return Peking. We jackpot from this country.
There is across board a failure of opportunity. There is across board unemployment. There is across board failed policies. There is across board a failed educational system. Of course, what he does, it creates a sense of flight.
Scum boy, like this, any idea who say we carry us for this country like this, mom, me and stand feet.
What is tragic in all of this is that beyond just the very difficult, outcomes to all these risks, is the fact that Nigeria as a country needs its human resources. This is Nigeria's actual biggest resource. It's not oil, it's the human resource.
Minasan, konnichiwa. Ohayo gozaimasu. Watashi wa Daniel Chuzin Mokolo desu. I felt I can't make it in Nigeria by then. I felt I can't. So the best thing to do is to jackpot, to just leave the country. I work in some kind of part-time jobs. I did part-time jobs in moving company. A lot of people, the mentality here is that when you travel abroad, when you jackpot, you travel abroad, that everything are just roses. No, no, no. With the experience I've got in Japan makes me to understand that every life is tough.
Can we pause? All right, so this guy jackpot, he actually jackpot to Japan. Yeah, and
Spent 26 years.
In Japan.
How many years?
all right, he spent 26 years. And
That's Mandela's time in prison.
And he came back to start selling fufu. Yeah. All right, that sounds funny and all that, but basically, so the video we just saw said 70% of Nigerians have indicated that if they had the opportunity, they would leave. So effectively, that means that roughly over 140 million people
are ready to fly.
Are ready to leave this country if they were given out visas. All right. But he is also saying that it's extremely difficult because he had to work several part-time jobs and all that. So I want to ask, from your own experience in what part of the US are you?
New York City.
New York City. Okay. Your experience, you run into Nigerians there. Absolutely. What's the general, because we have to balance this. People here feel that there's lots of opportunities in New York. I've not been to New York, but I know people who've been to New York and they say some of them say they've run into Nigerians homeless on the streets of New York, pushing what's it called?
Carts.
Pushing carts with all their possessions inside and all that. I have a relative of mine who took a trip to Germany in the late 90s, and she mentioned that at the airport she met a particular old man who had these traditional Ibadan marks on his face, and she looked at him and she told him that Baba and Leo, which translates into Baba,
well done.
How are you? Well done. And then Baba looked at her and told her that Yoruba, which means Yoruba. And the Baba said, Mark Wembio, which translates to mean that do not stay too long here. All right, so we have to balance it. We're not motivational speakers. We're not here to tell people whether to go or not to go. We're here to help people make informed decisions and to learn from the collective wisdom of those who have gone. So the question I have to you, we'll go with those who are travel consultants and those who have traveled. You've been to Ghana. I think you went to Ghana several times and all that.
Not just Ghana.
Okay, so I'll start with you. Just within the next 1 minute or so, can you articulate the viewpoints of those who are living in New York right now, Nigerians who are living in New York, and try to balance it, those who have succeeded, those who have not, and then at least give people an objective sense of the odds or chances of success?
Thank you very much. I think it's vast. The difference is really vast in terms of the quality of life out here and the quality of life out there. I'll give a basic example. You're here, you're a mining engineer, but over there, what you couldn't do as a mining engineer when you got over there, you achieved even more as a driver. What do you say? And then I'm like, wait a minute, you're not. I became so very comfortable being a driver. I drive medical claim, medical. I even though I had to decide to professionalize being a driver because that's what I did as a manual job. And then I'll be like, let me just get a driver's certificate until I now said, wait a minute, I'm getting too comfortable being a driver. Let me come back and get my geology certificates so that I can go to school. But what I couldn't do as an engineer here, I could do even much more as a driver. So this is a major point. Something that would like just motivate everyone to want to like get out of the country. Something that you feel it's even better off. I know of a man, Alaji is a good friend of mine. He was not a director, but a senior, executive at one of the big financial institutions. He got there and he started working security. Baba is 76, he's still working. He doesn't even want to retire because for him it's a form of exercise. And that's where he did even better, he had better life being a security personnel than, in the banking system. This is not to say that, over there, the industry is also, you have the grid. But the thing is, it's not like here where you look down on people. Like here, everybody looks down on the driver. But over there, most of these professions most of these skills are professionalized such that you cannot even identify. You can't see the difference between a medical doctor and a driver. There's that form of prestige for every profession. You understand? You could start a company, and my company, as a plumber, you will say, "Oh, call me a plumber," but get me the system will ensure that whoever is a plumber can become a plumbing company. That's what the system does. So they create there's a resource center. There's a pathway for every skill. You're a hairdresser, the system, and we have BDCs. They come to you they just advise you, set up a company. You have this skill, set up a company. So the system, it's more like it's infrastructure, it's inbuilt. Once you start, they recognize your talent or your skill or whatever. There are lots of people out there who try to find you and help you develop into.
Okay. So let's strike a balance now. Yeah. So we'll come back to you. We'll strike a balance. We'll talk numbers.
Okay.
All right. Because we'll talk about what people need to travel. Okay. We'll talk about what people need from your own experience, and then we'll pick maybe like a couple of countries, 3 countries or so, and then what the costs of the travel package. Then we'll talk about what people need to settle in. We'll talk about bills. Okay, so that at least get people into the mindset. If you're going and you're going down this route and all that, this is what the bills look like. This is what accommodation in New York City looks like. This is what you add it together, and then you compare it against what potential earnings are, so that people can make an informed decision. Right? So we'll have that conversation. So we'll come back to you. So your response to that, based on lots of people, that particular gentleman was out of the country, spent 26 years, he came back to Nigeria and all that. However, lots of people want to travel out. Okay, and from your own experience as a travel consultant, how much on average do they need to spend? Do they need to put, what's the pathway towards arranging the entire trip, the travel package, the flight tickets and all that, all the interviews, the certifications they would have to go through? Okay. And we'll put a cost to that. Then we'll come back and talk about the cost of maybe the first 1 year, the first 1 year settling in, and then what's they stand to earn. So,
okay, I'll use a country because the cost implication for Australia is not the same for Canada. Yeah, I'll say for a country like Canada, the cost implication for everything, including tuition fee, we're talking student visa now, right? Yeah, including tuition fee can be around 8 million naira. But you might not get to that 8 million naira because you need to pay a deposit, not all of it. Now, some people will be like, okay, what matters is how much I need to spend or how much I need to pay before I go over there. Then maybe when I get over there, while working and everything, because while you study, you can also work. So maybe while working, they can pay up. Understand? Yes. So I would say it just depends on the person. If you want to pay all the tuition fee before you leave, it can cost you about 8 million naira for everything. But if you don't want to, it can cost you less. Now, for a country like UK, around the same amount, 8 million naira. But whenever they give you a tuition deposit that's less, yeah, it can be nice. Yeah. Australia, it's quite more than that. It can cost you up to 10 million naira if you need to pay for everything. More than that, actually, depending on the school also and the course of study. Yeah, so what's actually cheap to or affordable is when you're traveling maybe for a visit or tourists, or maybe you've gotten a job and you need to go and work. Yeah, that's what will like.
So roughly, if people, let's assume someone has gotten a job and the person needs to go and work, how much does the entire travel package look like on average?
It just depends on the travel
On the
agent.
travel agent,
Yes.
okay.
But I think we have like, should I say, like figures estimation here.
Okay, so let's go to the screen and take a look at the figures and estimation.
As it says, save up to 10 million. Man estimates the total amount required to migrate to the UK for singles, married, and family. Said for singles, said for a family of 3 to go to the UK, you need around 25 million. For a family of 4, you need 30 million. For a family of 5, you need 35 million. Then for singles, if you are going there on a student visa, you need at least 5 million will be needed in the account for expenses for the first 3 months. Then you now also have to have some money as deposit for tuition and all that. So,
Okay, all right. So we'll strike a balance here, okay? Because I can see everybody's looking at the cost of the travel and the rest. You're thinking that do I have family land in the village? I can quickly find? Or like those guys said in that movie, we kidnap somebody, collect the ransom money,
and jackpot.
And we don't want to give people ideas with this particular.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go into numbers right now. Everybody just seems calm. What's happening? Your minds are calculating how will I get out of the country? You're thinking, where do I get the 8 million from? Does somebody want to respond to what has been said so far?
Do you think if you have 8 million, you actually use it to process a travel visa, or you use it to do some other thing?
That's a very good question.
Still, there are some people that don't want to leave the country.
You don't want to leave the country.
I want to, of course I want.
And so we are talking about
give
people
you
who want
10
to
million
leave.
now. Are you going to leave the country?
Of course.
No.
Can you move the
give
mic
me
closer
20
to you?
million.
Yes, I will.
Madam Travel Agent,
Wait,
you
20
too.
million.
You want to jackpot too?
No, I'll stay here and be processing people's visas.
I think I have a view I want to share.
Is it contrary or in line with what you've discussed?
In line with what?
Okay, so
Answer the question. Can I? It's actually related. Okay, you are saying the 8 million. Is it that, for example, if someone gets you're talking about student visa, right?
Yeah.
Someone gets a student visa there, then pay for deposits. Now the 8 million, is it for the visa process and the first 3 months?
Okay.
Or for
Like it's a cost implication. Your tuition fee, the visa fee, the biometrics fee, and probably to pay the agent. That if you're working with an agent, and maybe flight fare as well. But it's up to 8 million because probably you need to pay the total tuition fee. You understand? Now, people that have less have traveled. That's because they were just able to pay the deposits. Now, a country like Canada, they will ask to pay the first semester tuition fee. Now, in that case, it might not get to 8 million naira. In fact, it won't get to 8 million naira.
okay, assuming I remove the deposits. Remove the deposit and the tuition fee. How much for everything?
It can cost up to 5 million naira.
Without the deposit?
Without deposit.
I don't think so. I think
Are you serious?
No, not without the deposit. With the deposit.
No, I'm saying remove the deposit.
Okay,
Okay, assuming a full scholarship, the person gets to the place.
Just won't spend anything now. The only thing you have to spend, if maybe just the visa fee, biometrics, your flight
And the
tickets.
numbers. What are the numbers? Like how much?
Less than a
It
million.
depends. Okay, yeah.
So
No,
on that,
flight fare right now
it's
is
very, very
expensive.
speculative. Let me just come in right now. On that particular, probably what we'll do is this: we'll make your information available, and then we probably would have that personal conversation. Because obviously she doesn't have figures here to back that up. But we'll go ahead. Maybe we'll come back for the second show, for the next part of the show. Maybe to jump into that.
Regarding what she said, I have a friend that recently traveled to Canada. I think he estimates they spent up to like a couple of 9 months in doing the arrangement. He had maybe a deposit. He didn't pay all. And I think there's an attachment that once you get there, while schooling, you can work and balance up. I think it's estimated 4M.
Total.
Yes. So, and as regard what he said, I think getting there, like overseas and taking a menial job and I think it's for, that's my own thought though. I think it's for first comers, those that got there on time. Because I carried that notion while I was going to my service that, okay, there's this, they're not really skilled in the north that, okay, you can exploit. I'm just using that as example that you can exploit and be better and maybe get opportunities there, because most of them don't like schooling. But on getting there, I found out that the first comers swap all the opportunities away. So just come there, just dump you in one maybe upcoming school and give you a token and you just want to come back to Lagos or the south.
So I don't understand how
so what
that
I'm saying
relates
in
to.
essence is that,
are you debunking what he's saying or you are supporting?
no, I'm debunking in that it's for
Yeah, but
first
he
time.
is there now.
That's what I'm saying. My
Okay, your own experience.
and my notion that, okay, I think it's for first timers that if you get there on time, those that are traveling, I don't think that opportunity, because people are swarming in, and I think the much they go, the lesser the opportunity. That's what I don't know. So it's like more or less like I want him to like maybe throw more light on that. Exactly. Because
Okay, so
people are just short.
Okay, what he's saying. Let me understand what he's saying. Let me clarify to see if this is what you're saying. What I think he's saying, and please correct me if you're wrong.
Okay.
What I think he's saying is that how long have you been in the US now?
It's 5 years.
Right. I think what he's saying is that the windows that were open to you 5 years ago, those windows are shrinking.
Exactly.
And that by telling people that you can start off, what you may end up with a situation in which even the menial jobs now become so competitive because everybody is trying to go there. Okay. And that those doors were open to you because you had first mover advantage. I think, is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay, so he would address that now. Okay. Right? Can you address that within a minute, 2 minutes, and then
okay? I think to an extent, you might be right, but but this is a system that works every day to create jobs. That's the priority of every government, especially.
Are you saying is everybody in the US that has a job?
As a matter of fact, there are more jobs than
willing
you can
workers.
have. Okay. Everybody in the US has an average of 2 jobs. That's how it is. Okay. Why? Because the system has just professionalized just about anything. We have a system.
Or is it that you require 2 jobs to meet the bills?
No, you don't. No, you don't. One job is enough. But the thing is, there's so much to be taken out there in the labor market. I'll give you an example. There was a time these adverts were being made that, okay, Grandpa, they realized that there's this program like social service for the aged. And there were not enough people to fill up those spaces. And the aged always needs to, because there's priority for the disabled, and the people with disabilities. Then they started to advertise, okay, if you are a wife and you're taking care of your aged husband, the government will begin to pay you. That's employment drive right there. And we had millions of jobs added right after that policy was, enacted. So this is a system that creates more jobs than the rate of immigration, as a matter of fact. And it is a system that also creates a balance across all the different skills and professions. So it's not like one is better than the other. You don't care if you're a security person. I said it before. Not because of the way it looks or how people look at security people, in other climes, but because it's almost as good as being anything else.
All right, so we'll come back to the back and forth, because we're more about the process. Okay, so we'll talk about the process. If you have to go, what will be? So you'll talk to people. If they have to go, what will be their moves? And then we'll put numbers behind it. Because the basic needs, accommodation, healthcare, feeding, and at least clothing. So those things, we'll talk about the role of family and the rest in the conversation. Does anybody have experience of anybody who went and succeeded beyond their wildest dreams? Let's start with that before we start talking about those who failed. Do you have experience of family members who traveled out? And let me tell you the story right now. This is what we want. We don't want anecdotes. what I mean by anecdotes is I don't want stories of what they told you. Okay, we want stories of people that you know. That means that the person's story has to be something you have verified. I'll give an example for the kind of story we're looking for. A particular lady said that she was in the, I think she said she was in the American embassy or so, and all that, trying to get her visa, and she saw one guy walking. The guy was dressed in brand new clothes, shiny white shoes and all that, headsets on with the most recent iPhone. The guy was balling and he was enjoying life hard. And so everywhere he was going, he was just greeting people, giving people, give this person 500 naira, tipping security personnel, not at the embassy, but on the way to the embassy, and just looked at him, and she remembered him particularly because of his outlook. Said only for her to travel, and then the first job she got was a menial job. It was factory work. And as she was in the factory work, as they were onboarding her in and all that, she said, guess who comes in wearing the factory wear? That same guy. So the guy, she remembered him, that when this guy was coming in, he lived this flamboyant lifestyle. And do you understand? So we're not saying factory work is terrible work. We're saying that for that particular person, the impression he gave at the embassy was that he was not a factory worker. He wasn't. Do you understand me? Okay, so we want stories. If you're going to tell the story, you tell the story of exactly how the person started with a menial job and was able to grow the menial job. Not somebody who person just went there and after 2 years is doing fine. We don't want those kind of stories, because those stories a lot of time are not grounded in reality. You can narrate. So if you have that kind of story, does anybody have that kind of experience to share?
So there's this cousin of mine. Before he finished his NYC, he already had the intention of going abroad to continue his life. He's always had that at the back of his mind. So I think luckily for him, United States, to be precise, US. So after his NYC has been applied, he has started the process during his NYC. Then I think he went for his interview at first. That was immediately after his NYC. He got rejected. So yeah, at that time, I think there's still time to apply after you got your rejection. But I think now it has stopped also. I don't know. But he applied again, and luckily for him, jackpot, they granted him his visa. So he went, to cut long story short, he went there. I never even knew I was gone there. I was still in school because we attended the same university. So he was just there after like 7 months. I was not keeping track because I was in school. I just suddenly saw his post and I was like, bros, where are you? I was like, he's in the US. I was like, wow, that's good. How did he do it and all those things? I was like, don't worry, that's story for another day. So he has been there. I didn't know what he has been doing, but there was a time he called me and I got the information and details. I think he has somebody there he stayed with for a while. That was 6 months. He was washing plates. That was what he said. So he has been washing plates for like 1 year, then 2 years. Washed plates for 2 years. But at least that plate was washing was able to feed himself. Although he has someone that he's staying somewhere with his aunt, the mom's sister also. He has someone where he doesn't pay for the rent and all, but for the feeding, he was able to sort himself, and he was saving a lot because he had the intention of having his own space. Because where he was staying was for somebody, or just occupying the space for the meantime. So he said he had all his friends were elderly people. He was so young then, he was 23 then, and he said he made friends with 33, 35. So those ones were able to impact so many knowledge into him about the country and how everything works. So he said most of his smart moves was gotten from those elderly men. So after like 2 years...
So did you say that somebody who is 35 is elderly?
I'm really saying that at least a matured person that has gone through life. And he's still young, so he didn't really roll with his own peers. He actually went for the elderly one. So 2 years, he has to get his CV, start applying because he has his Nigerian certificate. He took his Nigerian certificate to the US, started trying his best, he can apply to like 70, 80 places, like 3 or 4 will call him. So he went for several interviews. Finally, although he's a chemist, he studied chemistry in Nigeria. finally got a job there as a chemist there in the US. So it was
how long between the
2 years. After 2 years of plate washing. So he finally got a job as a chemist, assisting also. I think, for years, he started getting more pay than the initial jobs. And like that, 6 months, I think the COVID came in. COVID-19 was like the best year of his life. That was when the change came. Everybody was indoor. Nobody wants to come outside. So he had this car. I think so it's easier for people to get a car there. I think based on mortgage or so, you can be paying instrumentally. I don't know. So he had a car. He said he used his car for Kabu. So delivery. So people would just order, then he drives, deliver. We'll do chemist work in the morning. I think you have time shift. Go for Kabu delivery in the evening. Then he also working on that company, I think courier service or so. I don't know how he does it, but he has like 3 jobs. He was working, he said he was working his ass out. That was what he used. I don't know for them. So he has been working like as if he doesn't want to work again. So that took 2 years. After another 2 years, then I think the visa was 4 years. After that 4 years, I was like, okay, he doesn't want to come back. He was telling me that if he used to come back to Nigeria, he'll probably come and start a business. So maybe set up a business and stuff. But I think he's pretty asking not to come because I think that was when Nigeria started getting worse. Please don't come home. Try and stay there. Try and get something to do there. Probably get a wife, marry somebody, and get your stay and continue your life there. I think at that time was already making millions according to him because conversion to Nigerian rate, millions of naira. So if he sends, let's say, $500 home, you'll be like, wow, my son is doing well. At least convert $500 to Nigerian money. $1,000 and all. So they asked him not to come back. So they gave him advice, maybe get a wife, marry somebody, and he was like, okay, I think that's what he's going to do. So I don't know. He called me recently. That was January, I think December, January. Yeah, it was, because it's not easy to get a wife there. I don't think it's easy as you can easily just go out, see, get also, babe, it's not as easy as that there. So you just have to get, what's it called? This app, dating apps. Sign up on dating apps, get people, and then finally, you got a girl. Funny enough, that girl that he got has been living on the streets in New York City, like, think downtown or so, where he stays. Was like, the guy has been staying. I didn't know, they might have crossed themselves and did not know.
Is she Nigerian?
She's not, she's a Jamaican. Okay. She's black. So, to cut the long story short, they got to meet themselves, went on several dates, and decided to marry themselves. So now he has the house. In fact, I was on video call with him. Was it February? I saw the house. I was like, wow. Even your father's house is not as big as this. So I saw the wife. I spoke to the wife and everything. It's looking all good. Now he has a car. He has a house. He has a good job. Now he's not like an agent. Not like he now gives like an HR. I don't know what kind of job he's in, but he's now working in his own house. He doesn't have to leave. He has a system set up in his room up because it's like a story building. So he showed me his system, his TV, everything set up, his office in his house. And the wife also has his own job. So now he's okay. He has a house, he has a car. His life is at least financially stable. And then he has a wife.
Is the house fully paid for?
He didn't tell me anything about it. I think it's a mortgage also. But now, the car is still there. He showed me his car in his garage.
Is it fully paid for?
Yes, I think it's fully paid for.
Have you spoken to him about it? Are you certain?
Yeah, for the car, yes, but for the house, I don't know. Because he has got the car since 3 years or 4 years ago. For the car,
how long does on average does it take to
pay fully for a car or
yes, for a car?
For a car? I think I've had 2 cars paid off already, so it's 2.5 or
3 years. Okay, so that's doable. Then.
So the story is like he actually went from being a plate washer, probably some restaurants. Now he has a house, he has a car, he has a wife. So that's like a sweet story to me. And now he is so financially stable that he sponsored his younger brother to Canada. His brother is in Canada now. Just landed Canada last month. I'll tell you how financially okay he is now. So sorting the bills, the school fees, the flight and everything. And now all good. All good. So it's just like a story that it's possible for any Nigerian to go there. If you are really hardworking, because this guy is very, very hardworking. I don't know about the lazy ones, but if you are really, really hardworking, I said three jobs in a day. You said sometimes he only sleeps 3 hours a day or 4.
That's a stage, yeah.
But now I think
that's
you
a
can now
stage you might
sleep
have to
8 hours.
at some point.
I think he can now sleep it out because he's looking all fresh now. Everything is poofy and his face is all big and stuff. So that's like a story from being a plate washer now to have a house in the US and not just a wife, a car and everything stable.
Actually, you're talking more than this. Everybody will ask this guy.
I'm convinced.
You ask this guy you're asking for his email address. She's asking how old is he?
Yeah, now he's 28.
Wow.
Does he want a Nigerian wife?
I don't think it was.
He has a Jamaican one.
That story sounds familiar and it sounds personal. The first job I got when I got there, being a business owner from Nigeria, arriving in the United States, I was quick to drop off all that, all that ego, especially when I arrived for my first job. And the lady was one short lady. She just ran to me. It was supposed to be a night duty, and she gave me the broom. And I'm like, to do what? She said, hey, sweep. There's a lot of Spanish people. So she was like, I couldn't even communicate. I'm like, really? And that was it. So I did that for a couple months, 3 to 4 months. But I already had in mind that the best way, because I had a plan before I traveled, that the best way to start a business out there is to be a sort of artisan, like have a skill, set up a company around that skill. So the same company I had here was the first company I set up once I got there, but as a foreigner. So there were limitations as a foreigner. If you set up a business and you as the president are still a foreigner, because I was meant to visit, but somehow I was able to set up that company and develop that skill around it. So the plan was the skill will be something I already am good at. I used to love to drive. I already retired as a driver here, but it was a skill I had to call up when I needed it the most. So I said, okay, I'll just save up some money and start driving. You were talking about your friend doing delivery. Delivery is big business over there. Cab business is big. A lot of people do that. Why? Because you have control of your time. You could work whenever you want. You have no boss. And for those of you who want to develop further, it's easier. So about the time I took that manual job, I was able to save up and purchase my first car. And then so I started driving. But then after that, I was able to I had business development companies looking at the numbers because I was doing everything in my business name. Even when I was earning as a laundry person or laundry, because it was a big laundry. I was cleaning, I was maintaining the machines and everything. I did everything as a company. So if the country won't recognize me as a local entity, like as a citizen, my company was recognized as a person, it's the law in general. So it was a US company, but with a foreign owner. So I just had to get one or two people into it to have some shares to be able to have it function as a domestic business. So that created a track record upon which I was able to launch at the end of the day. So it's something one can, you can do that, have your manual job, do it not just as an individual, because when you get these manual jobs, they are usually under the table. It's more like a waste of time if you don't, if you cannot attach those track records to something. So what I will advise anybody else traveling now, especially not non-immigration, like non-immigrant travel, because that's what most of you get for the cheapest, non-immigrant. But when you get there, you may have to make decisions like your friend made. After all the 4 years as a student, he would have had to return to Nigeria. What did he have to do? He had to marry somebody from over there. So a lot of people come across those. So
let me get you in. Are you telling me that in this particular story, he had to marry a Jamaican? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, to stay. He mentioned it.
Are you saying that the marriage, he met the girl because the way you told the story came across as if he met the girl because he loved her?
No, I said he wanted to come back.
Okay.
But the parent was like, no, what are you coming here to do? Nigeria is worse. So what are your options there?
So he had to marry her to stay back?
No, he had to marry somebody.
No, like
to stay back.
Listen, get my question, all right? If it's a different thing if you marry someone because you love the person or I want to get married. The question I need to clarify now, because people are going to watch this, and the way your story went, the way your story was narrated, this was what I got. That his life has gone so good. He has transitioned from menial job to a job as a chemist. And then he got so good that he bought a car, he bought a house, and then he got married. All right, that's what I understood. But from what you're telling me now, effectively, central to his strategy of everything is the wife he got married to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key strategy. That's a different person. He had to marry the wife. Okay, so we've clarified that now.
I did not fly that part. I think.
So that's why I had to. That's why I had to, because I said it sounds personal.
Yeah.
So people have made these decisions. I mean, I live there. I've seen pastors and their wives travel from GOs and their wives travel from Nigeria, relocate on a visit visa. Both of them are meant to return within 6 months. What do they have to do? Baba, Elowa ya wutinyo. Mama, Elowa. Look, there's a bubble. So I'm trying to like pierce the rope now. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, please.
People don't wait, guys. This is the reason why he's here. That's why I said we don't want motivational speakers, because what you just told us now was a good story. Right? But you buried a core part of that story.
You forgot the part when I said he wanted to come back.
The
parents said, "Don't come back." I said that.
Yes, you said that.
And
easy to get
the only thing is to get married.
You said
he wanted to come back, or they wanted to send him back.
No.
He didn't say
He
that.
wanted to come back to start a business.
Yeah.
Right? Then the parents said, "Don't come back. Nigeria is worse." Right? Stay there. And how can you stay there? Your visa is already 4 years expired already.
Exactly. But you left that part of the story.
He breezed through. I heard.
Let's recap the story. You told us you had a cousin, right, who traveled out of the country, and there were key things you told us in that story. So let's follow the story. So you had a cousin who traveled out of the country, okay,
to the US,
to the United States of America, and he started off washing plates, let's say in a restaurant. For accommodation, he stayed with a friend, and he had much older colleagues that gave him counsel on what to do. At some particular point in time, he worked 3 jobs. Right? He was washing plates, he was a chemist, and then he was a delivery driver. Okay? And at that particular point, he was able to save up money. At some point, it was time for him to return back to Nigeria. And he told his parents he wants to return back to Nigeria. Now, while he was there, he was sending money to his parents, which in the local dollar was not so much. But when you factor in the black market exchange rate, $1,000 shipped to Nigeria becomes between 500 to 750,000 naira. It's a lot of money. So his parents were incentivized to discourage him from returning.
Yeah.
Because that means that pipeline will dry up.
If he comes back.
True story.
So your parents, so he had to find a way to stay back in the country. The doorway to finding that way was to marry a local, a citizen of the country. He went on a dating app and found a local who happened to be a Jamaican, same dark color skin that he could marry. You haven't told me much about this wife. Does she have, we know from data, okay, that 40% of young women in the United States are single moms.
Mm-hmm.
Is this woman a single mom?
No.
Okay, so he's lucky enough to find the 60%. Mm-hmm. But he had to marry her to stay back. The key to that success story that you just told us was that marriage. And you left it out. And it's not fair to leave her, because so basically, if you are going to emigrate, and so that's where we've gotten to. Now, he started out by telling us a story, and I want you to recap the story from the beginning, particularly the issue of people traveling now, GOs and pastors.
Oh, yes.
We are being practical, because this is not a motivational session. Okay, you do not want to get into the middle of the ship to find out that the ship cannot take the journey. The middle of the ocean, rather. So let's.
Yes, like I said earlier, people have had to make these tough decisions. GOs and pastors are fast, and it's even easier for the affairs because polygamy is allowed. But the key to it is that you cannot emigrate fully You cannot legally reside in the United States of America or any other Western world country without having your employer file for you or your immediate spouse file for you or being a refugee. If you're not neither of those three, I think those are the three key areas. There are a lot of other avenues through which you can legally reside, but I'll just take those three because they happen to be the most common, applicable pathways. So if you travel to the United States today, you will have to at some point make that decision. It's easier for single students who are like your friend. He was unmarried when he traveled. Some people, even before they travel, they will have to leave their wives in Nigeria and go over there to marry. You understand? So people make these decisions on a daily basis. But the thing is, there's a veil, like it's a bubble over there. People over there don't say these things. People in the diaspora live that way. They don't say these things out. It's more like
in-house code.
In-house code. That's why I said even GOs and pastors, when they get over there, do you understand? People have had to, like the story of the Bible, in the Bible, where somebody will have to say, that is my sister.
That's my sister.
But that's his wife. Oh, my sister, she's a single mom. I'm just helping her. So your sister will come around and then will say hello to your wife, who is the citizen, helping both of you out at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, once the husband, who is the spouse of the citizen now, once he gets his papers, then he can extend on to the children, and then the wife can go ahead and get hers someplace else. So there is this situation where families are faced with having to split up in the wilderness. Yes. It's also easier if it's just you. When I traveled alone. So, it was easy for me because I had my company. I could use a variety of opportunities, avenues before me. But it was, if I had, traveled with the entire, it was me with the children and all that, it would have been a lot tougher. So I can understand when you're single, it's easier for you. But the truth is, when you get over there, you'll have to make that decision. You'll get to that crossroad where, these decisions have to be made. Am I going to forget about my girlfriend or my wife in Nigeria? Thank God it was just an engagement that we did. You understand what I mean? You can throw that out of the window and then you marry somebody else. Or maybe I'll just talk to her back home, and make her understand. I know of a pastor, I'm telling you. He got there. His case was even more devastating because he got there. He was driving manually, but as a driver, he was not authorized to drive. And then he hit somebody, went to jail for 3 years or 4 years. I think he went to jail for like 5 years because before I got there, he was already in jail. So he went to jail for like 4 years, came out. Remember, the wife in Nigeria is waiting. And then he has to marry somebody there. But one thing is, there are many ways to approach it. You might marry truly, but a lot of people do also pay, RNG. Yeah, you have to pay. You pay somebody, just let's do it, let's act. So, and then it's up to the immigration to figure that out, or up to your luck. So, these are the things that play out, out there. Now, at some point, he married this lady, and it was for love. And people make the mistake of not telling the truth, she's my sister. Then it becomes a problem at the end of the day. Because you understand what I mean? You cannot be a polygamist in the United States of America. So we've seen that also become a major issue, that having made that decision, the real legitimate wife after that marriage, remember marriage in quotes now, is fomenting trouble. Haven't found out that the sister back in Nigeria or the sister down the area is not the sister. It's actually, you understand what I mean? So these things happen, these are part of the things that we
Okay.
we discuss.
Okay, so let's like we said much earlier, this show focuses on helps people start new careers, new relationships, and new families. All right, so we'll segue into that. All right. So this, what he has said right now, is one of the reasons why you understand that you see some people traveled out. He had a girlfriend here. When he got out, he broke up with his girlfriend. All right, because when it comes to economic survival, if you have to weigh economic survival, love in Africa, economic survival
in America,
love. So let me. I think we were talking much earlier, and you mentioned that you have a story similar that you dated somebody, and then the person traveled out, and the person.
So exactly what happened.
Exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Can you jump into the story? Let's just hear the story.
My own story was that about 6 months. 6 months. He was already processing the whole thing even before we met, and he left, and we were cool. We're talking. Got to a point, started complaining. Started complaining, started having trust issues, started questioning me, and I was at the point I was like, okay, the distance, okay, it's making sense. But at the point I got so angry, like, what is happening? When you were here, we're cool, and you understand. So it got to this point that it was unbearable. I had to tell him what exactly is going on. It was like, you're too fine. Guys, you can't go to the market in peace. You can't go to work in peace. Like, he was just bringing up different excuses. And at last, we broke up because he made it unbearable for me. Like I said, I got really pissed because insecurity, it was just too high. So I had to leave, and that was it.
So who broke it off?
Year,
was it you?
Yes, I was so angry. Like it was annoying. It was so bad that even at home you asked me to snap myself, putting something behind me to just. So it was annoying. It was really annoying. So last year we talked, and he started apologizing. I was like, guy, what's going on? He said, what really happened that time wasn't because of that he was actually about to get married. And I was like, Jesus Christ, how? Why? It was like because of his papers. And he knew that I would never agree to it. Like, I would be against it totally. So it was like, to get his papers, he had to get someone. It was more like a contract, something like that. You would have told me. He said, I wouldn't understand. Like, I would have gone against it. And he knew that he would have proceeded, even if I said no. And that would finally still lead to the breakup. So I was like, okay, you're married now. What's up? He said, yes, he's married. He said, but the transaction is still on. The contract is still on. Like, it's not done yet. And he will soon get his papers. And I'm like, wow. So that was, this is just like me briefing the whole thing. That was just what happened. It would not come out straight. So finally it did, but it was too late.
Did he invite you to come over?
I wasn't, at that point I wasn't even interested because I was dating someone else.
And so it was right now that you were a fine girl and
we broke up. What? I was not supposed to wait for him or anything. Plus, he did not tell me that was the reason. It was...
Okay, so if he had told you, what would you have said?
We would have talked about it. Like...
Really? What are talking about?
It wasn't like you said, it wasn't like they were dating or they wanted to marry for love. No. It was just... They both knew what was... He paid her, actually. He paid her.
It's not that easy. People go in form of contracts and they end up getting truly married. It happens.
Because I think
so imagine that the Gio and Mommy Gio now haven't gone their separate ways.
I'm so blown away.
So deep.
It's a very common occurrence, actually.
Yeah. It's common, but nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
Closer
to the heart.
When we talk about it.
Usually, when people say that God did it.
God.
All right. So this is so. We're taking this now. So basically, what you're saying is that the way the laws in these countries have been set up, they've been set up in such a way that if you do not have a relative who is a citizen, it's extremely difficult for you to stay there for long. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Your own experience as it.
It depends on the country, I think.
Is there any country? Okay, so let's look at it this way. Because we have to assess. Most decisions people have to make, those decisions are going to be made across time frames. Okay, you judge whether a decision is a wise one or a foolish one based on the consequences in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
That's if you talk about wisdom. Basically, wisdom is you being able to make a decision in which, at the long run, at the long run of that decision, the decision works out. There are no negative or large negative consequences. That's basically what wisdom is. Okay, I'll give an example. I've been telling you stories. We've been having these conversations. We met in 2006. Right, it was one of the very, very first clients that we more or less built. I think we built like an overall marketing campaign or so for Trade Masters then and all that. So we met in 2006, and we've been able to continue the relationship for over 17 years. Okay, in 2006, if he had been defrauded, we won't be having this conversation right now. And over the course of the years, it's been a very, very mutually beneficial relationship. So the point is this: if you are going to make decisions that will serve you in the short term, but in the long term will destroy your life, it's really not a wise decision. Okay, so, and that's what we want to analyze right now, because people are going to make, anybody who is traveling or relocating usually does not plan to stay there for a year or 2 years. All right, let me even ask you this: what's the time frame that most people have when most people travel? Let's assume, what's the average age? The people who travel, what's the average age at which they go?
It depends on the visa though.
Now,
Type of
from
visa.
your own experience, what would you say is like the majority of people? What age group do they fall into? The clients you process for?
30s, in their 30s.
Early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s.
Late 20s and 30s.
Yes, late 20s and 30s. I would say both the early 30s, middle 30s, and late 30s. I've even seen in people in their 40s.
Are they going with student visa?
Of course.
Masters.
Yes, masters, not for BSc.
Okay, so how long usually? Okay, we know they say that they are traveling to go and study. Well, you and I know that traveling to go and study
Of course.
is just a foot through the door.
Yeah.
That's like saying all I just want is a kiss. You know that's a lie. So now, but really, when you ask them, how long do they plan to stay, even with a student visa? What's the time frame most people have?
They don't want to come back again. They be like, they want to go, they don't come back again. And I see people come to me for visit visa or tourists. They'll be like, I just want to go there and host, but this is the pathway I want to go with.
So they plan to stay there till they die.
They blow.
Just to stay. They don't intend
No, if you don't plan to come back, then it means they're going to die there. That's what it means now.
So they just want to breathe, just a breath of fresh air or some cold air.
A quick question. The visit visa is how many months to stay there?
Some countries give you 3 months.
Okay.
Some countries give you 6 months.
As you go with you know that one is cheaper. So if you go with a
visiting
visa, I'll quickly marry in 2 months.
You still have to come back.
How about that?
I'm
saying, is that a possibility? You don't know how to calculate it.
It's very possible, but there's a brick wall with the immigration.
Yeah,
then it appears like that's why you even came in the first place, because you have to establish bona fide relation, whether or not it was arranged. It's up to the immigration to check that out. Like, is this relationship bona fide, or are you getting married because they're not asking you to marry and come and take paper? No, you come and get paper based on the fact that you both fell in love. So now people arrange that love. They arrange that
from here. They can arrange
some arrange from here. As a matter of fact, I've become a proponent of. I build relationships now, not the fake ones, so not the arranged ones. So.
I'll see you after the show. I'm your first client.
So we what I try to do is, because there's a gap when you get there, you find out that there's a lot of single moms. Marriage is not as valued as we value marriage here. So out there, once you're my girlfriend, we can have 3, 4, 5 kids. Boyfriend, girlfriend, that's it. Baby mama. So I guess that's the trickle-down effect when they say, baby mama. So that's what they do over there. So as a result, there's a lot of single moms out there dying to have
a husband. The Nigerian husband.
And then that's a very good point. A Nigerian husband.
Yes. True.
Why Nigerians?
Yeah, because
Subsequently, I'll
Nigerians
tell
are
you a
smart
story
guys.
about that.
That's another fact that
Yeah.
I want to put on on the record.
yeah, please on the
Nigerians are
record.
smart guys, good guys. We take care of them. You do. You know, we somehow we've been able to put that out there. So out of that pool, you have a lot of people who need real husbands, and then you have a lot of Nigerians who just want to let me just pay you, do the arrangement. So it's up to you what you find. Some find the arrangee kind of thing. Some will morph from the arrangee into real, and so it's all a complex interplay of all kinds of things. So, but the thing is, the system just wants to make sure that you qualify to be a citizen or a resident because you married one of their own. So maybe it's a way of trying to have happier, happier women or a happier society. But that's just, and it happens to be the fastest pathway to, legal residence. After that, if you study till Jesus come, you may never get that. Yes, you may never get. You will just be a student, and that's it. After that, you have to go. If you come in and work, you have to go back. You are not permitted to stay. There are limits to your terms of stay. So whatever will give you a pathway to citizenship
or residential
or residency is to have to marry somebody, number one. Because you're not born there already, so you've lost that. To marry somebody, become a refugee, which I'll put at the third level. Then the second will be have a work permit and have your employee file for you that you are specially skilled. You are not just skilled. What you do, no other American can do for them. And they have to prove that. So that's about those are the two key, pathways to...
Three, actually.
Yeah. So the third is, I'm a refugee. And you have to prove that too. Refugee in the sense that, back home, it's a war thought. Like Ukrainians now are flocking into the United States, like no man's business. But then you could say, Nigeria, Boko Haram, people use the story of Boko Haram to when they get there, I'm from that part of the country. Some will say political violence, some just make up stories, and then it's up to the judge assigned to that case to verify all those claims and make their decision.
So you guys now, at least with this now, we understand why we are saying it has to be realistic. All right? So a lot of people want to japa. Let's just put it out there, okay, so that you realize the decisions that face you. Because speaking with Mr. Tosin Oderinde Johnson, right? He lives in the United States. He works in New York. He has gone through that route. Started out graduate of geology, worked in Nigeria, ran his company in Nigeria, got to the US, started out at the low level and has been able to rise. And he's telling you on the basis of his own experience, what he has said so far. The summary of this conversation is simply this, that if you're a young man and you're making a decision to relocate out of Nigeria, at some particular point, you'll be faced with the difficult decision. You might have to get married to stay. Okay, so those are the two decisions that go hand in hand. If you're a married man and you're making decisions to relocate, it's either you have a skill that no American possesses that qualifies you to stay in the country. And that's the reason why it seems as if a lot of people who are in the medical line find it easy to go, because a lot of our specialists in Nigeria and across Africa are traveling. It's either you have that or you are ready to take a wife in another country. Okay, so those are the decisions that you are faced with, and you have to make the decision. This has been a great conversation. We will, I don't know, does anybody else have questions for him?
Excuse me, I just want to say something. On the part of pathways, maybe to retain your state, to remain in the country. I don't know, I've not been there, but what I think about Canada and Australia, they have labels. When you go through their websites, you see their lists of job shortages. You see that they actually need people for this particular kind of skill. So if you know the kind of skill they actually need, and God willing, you have that kind of skill, it's a pathway for you to retain.
Will they give them permanent residency because they possess the skill?
Yes, of course. Canada, yes, you can. So it's easy for people in Canada and Australia. I'm sure of those two countries. Compared to the US. So it still depends on the country you are residing.
You're very right with that. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, the pathway for a lot of people is this: you need to have You need to have a skill.
Skills in demand.
Yes.
Skill in demand in Canadian or Australian markets.
Yeah.
All right. You need to have the money to cover the cost of the travel.
Yeah.
You're saying starting from 4 to 5 million naira. And then once you get there and you work there, you get your permanent residency. If you want to move to a country like the United States, it's better for you if you're a single man, because then you can actually have your first or your marriage there. If you're a married man and you're relocating to the United States, at some point you'll have to make the difficult decision. Do I want to keep a family in the US, or do I want to keep a family
in Nigeria,
or in the rest of Africa? And so I guess this explains the reason why you would hear that lots of people in your villages, whether you're in Kenya, Ghana, Tanzania, South Africa, or Nigeria, you hear stories of people they are leaving your country and then they're getting married and they're wondering that, what about the marital vows that you swore before God in church? That is dead to your part. I understand that a lot of people have to make these decisions on the basis of economic reality. They are difficult decisions, and these are the conversations we are trying to put out there so that we can start to have those conversations. I'm sure that several people also watching this will also look back and you probably will now understand why some of your uncles and your aunties seem to have half-caste children, despite the person being a strong Christian.
Pentecostal.
It's not compulsory you get married to a white, an half-caste or a foreigner when you get there before you have your stay. Because I know someone who got there, who got married to a Nigerian just because the guy is a citizen.
That's one in
South. It's the same. You still make the same. That's still valid. A Nigerian that is a citizen is a citizen.
Mm-hmm. But how many single Nigerian ladies who are citizens in the United States
are still unhooked?
Will want to get married to somebody coming from Nigeria who is looking for papers?
Exactly. That's the point.
That's the question we're asking. Because you have more single Nigerian women here.
They want true love.
You have more single here than.
Because obviously, what you are saying is, let me tell you what this is the decision. Anybody who is getting married to a Nigerian, anybody who is getting married to an immigrant, at the point in which the marriage is being contracted. Okay, so anybody who is getting married to an immigrant from Africa, particularly because that person needs to get his stay, at the point in which the marriage is being contracted, the wife or the foreign spouse to be, all right, that marriage is not being built on love. It's more likely that the foreign spouse will out-earn the Nigerian spouse. Because if the Nigerian spouse was extremely wealthy enough, he would not need to get married.
To buy the papers.
You probably will not need to get married to stay in the country. For example, we had Femi Otedola, for instance. He had American citizenship. He is extremely wealthy. When this law came, this NAFTA, in which you would have to report your earnings in any country for tax purposes in the US, he
revoked
his citizenship because he didn't want to pay. He did not want to pay America taxes. He left the citizenship because the system did not serve him any purpose. So the reason why people are traveling out, everybody who has spoken right now, if everyone in this particular studio, if you were a billionaire like Dangote, you would not be talking about traveling out of the country for citizenship. Because there's people who have a lot of money, you have an advantage. You don't have to stay anywhere. Your money can open up doors to every country you go through. The reason why doors are locked is because most of us, and I dare say, maybe with the exception of Mr. Tosin, all of us in this studio, there is a level that when we get to, the money we have will not lock the door. That's just it.
True.
And we have to be blunt with ourselves. So the summary of the conversation we've had so far from this session is this. If you want to relocate out of the country, all right, there are 3 essential ingredients that are needed. The first is you need to have at least the startup money. And we've heard that it could range between 5 to 35 million naira, depending on whether you're a single man or whether you're a married man with 2 or 3 children. So that's the first. The second thing you would need is a country that will appreciate your skills and it will be willing to offer you residency because of the skills you are bringing. That means you need to have something that you can trade with. and what you can trade with in those countries like Canada and Australia are the skills that are needed by their country, which cannot be filled by the citizens of that country. The third thing that will be needed, if you do not have that special skill and you seek residency in a country like the United States of America, all right, is being a Nigerian spouse to someone in the country who desperately or who urgently needs to find a partner. Okay, you can marry for papers. So those are the three pathways that are open. The other pathways about education and all that. So anybody who's telling you that they went abroad, they did education, they were educated, and on the strength of their degrees, they were asked to stay back. If the skill was not essential, and if they did not claim to be a refugee, most likely they got married for love or for papers.
Yeah.
And so those are difficult decisions you would have to make.
Or for both.
Or for both. So those are difficult decisions you would have to make. And we want to arm you with enough information to make those difficult decisions. So, ladies, gentlemen, thank you very much for being a part of this section of the show. We'll go on a break, and then when we come back, we'll jump into the follow-up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.